You're not stuck because you don't know what to do next. You're stuck because somewhere along the way you stopped trusting your own knowing. You have been told to ask, should I stay in my current role or should I go? But here is the thing, that's the wrong question to ask. Here's what you really need to ask. Who am I becoming in this role? What is it quietly costing me to stay? Because behind every career that plateaus, stalls, or burns out isn't a lack of effort, it's a lack of clarity. That's why I created the 555 framework to give you a tool that can cut through all the noises and finally help you to answer the question that's been haunting you for months. Is it a time to pivot, stay, or evolve? I created this framework not because I needed to help others, but first and foremost, I needed to help myself. You know, there is a saying, we tend to teach others what we need to learn the most. That's exactly the case. A few years ago, I hit a point in my career where everything looked fine on paper, on the outside. But inside, it was a completely different story. My soul was slipping away one day at a time. I was bored. I was stuck. I felt I was suffocating and boxed in a role which I outgrew long back. It felt like I was drifting, even though I was doing everything right on paper. I knew deep down, I just don't need another job. I don't need another to-do list. What I was missing was clarity. That's when I started to asking myself these three simple but powerful questions to really dig deeper in search of finding the truth. Today, I'll take you through these three simple yet powerful questions that will help you to get clarity fast. Also, I'll share some of the mindset traps that keep high performers stuck. And finally, two ways to take you from indecision to powerful career moves without burning it all down. Let's go. If you are new here, my name is Taz. I'm a corporate leader by profession and a coach by passion. For the past 15 years, I've been building and leading high-performing teams in finance and tech, and also navigating my own career pivots through burnout, reinvention, and many identity shifts. Now I have the privilege to help other professionals find clarity, purpose, and momentum again in their career without compromising who they are. You are doing everything right. You have built credibility, you have mastered your craft, and yet you feel stuck. Stuck in the loop of, is this it? This is what I call career fog. You're moving, but not progressing. You are achieving, but not evolving. Most people wait until it's unbearable to move. But what if? What if you can course correct before the breakdown, before burning it all down? And that's where this 555 framework comes in. This framework asks three deceptively simple yet powerful questions. In 5 weeks, am I still learning something that excites me? Or am I in an autopilot, surviving each meeting and hoping something magically will change? If you feel depleted by Monday morning, it is a sign that your role is draining you more than it's giving. Sometimes short-term stagnation can cause long-term damages once we start normalizing it. Next question. In 5 months, will I be seen differently in this role in this company? AKA, will my current role and path open doors or Will I be stuck in the same cycle with just a different calendar? Let's be honest. If you're doing a great work, but no one sees your values, no one recognizes, then you are not in a career. You're just in a box. The truth is, visibility drives opportunity, not just effort alone. Final question. In 5 years' time, will I be proud of what I have built here? Does this work align with the life that I truly wanted for myself? Or will I look back wondering why I stayed so long? Here's the truth. The years will pass either way, but the real question is, are you building the life that you truly want and deserve, or are you building someone else's future? Even when the answers are clear, often fear keeps us in place. What if I fail? What if I make the wrong decision in this point of my career? Should I be grateful of what I have? What if it doesn't work? Maybe next year. That's my favorite one, and the one that I told to myself year after year. You need to understand, these are not facts. These are our brain's way of avoiding risk, choosing safety over unknown, uncomfortable, unfamiliar. But clarity without action equals to another year lost to hesitation. Now let's go back to this question. If you have answered no to at least one of those questions, I want you to pause right now and tell yourself it's simply a data. This does not mean that you have failed in any shape and form in your career. So don't need to be panic. There's still time. You can course correct your path forward. Now you have two options to take those answers and intentionally design your career. The very first option, redesign the career within. You don't always have to immediately leave your current role in order to grow. Sometimes all it takes to give yourself permission just to stop waiting without taking action or moving towards a realistic outcome. Let me tell you about Ria, one of my team members I had the pleasure working with a few years back. Ria was brilliant, so sharp, very thoughtful, very professional, always delivering on time and often going beyond her role. But over time, with constant corporate changes, I've noticed she'd grown quiet. Meetings would end, but her voice was never in the room. One day I asked her, "Why don't you speak up anymore?" She whispered, "Taz, I don't think anyone would be interested hearing my thoughts. I don't think anyone is really listening." That moment, it dawned on me that she stopped sharing her voice, not because she was not capable, but because with all the changes in leadership and new people and management coming in, she did not feel seen anymore. The following week, I invited her to co-lead a strategy session with me. Initially, she hesitated, but then she said yes. As I was watching her presenting along with me on that day, I just saw something just lit up before my eyes. In the months that followed, Ria started pitching different solutions to our leadership team. She started hosting team retros, volunteering different team and cultural activities, training new hires. There was a real shift in her energy. She was truly unstoppable, as if she found a new sense of purpose. But essentially, all it was, she finally gave herself permission to lead without waiting for the next title or promotion. Guess what? 6 months later, Ria got promoted. not because of doing her job, but because of being more visible in her impact. You don't have to necessarily always change your current job. Sometimes all it takes to change how you are showing up in the one that you currently already have. Few actionable steps. Have an honest conversation with your leader. Often we fall into trap assuming that our leader already knows what our needs are. We don't have to say it out loud. But you'd be amazed how often it is not true. We forget that no one can mind read us. It is your career, it is your life, so you have to be in the driver's seat and share your genuine growth needs with your team leader. Often they really wanted to help within the boundaries and limitation they have, but they really wanted to support high performing team member like yourself. Volunteer for a cross functional project. Shift your brand from a doer to a driver. Ask, how can I evolve right in this role every day when you are showing up at work? And honestly, if you are open to explore different suggestions and options, you'll find there are more than many ways you can still continue to grow in your current role. Option 2, plan a purposeful pivot. And there is the other kind of the story where staying in your current role means you are slowly disappearing from your own self. The similar kind that happened to me a few years back, and I know it usually happens with many others in this profession. This reminds me of Dan, one of my coaching clients. When I met Dan, he already been in the finance industry for 15 years. He had big title, great pay, corner fancy office, solid performance. But his voice cracked when he told me, Taz, I don't hate my job. I just don't recognize myself in it anymore. My heart just broke inside when I heard that statement because I knew it, how it felt, because I was exactly in the similar shoe few years prior. He wasn't burnout. For Dan, at that point, every day felt like a repeat mode. When we used the 555 framework, the answers were hard to say it out loud for him, but they were honest. In 5 weeks, Dan would be still stuck in those finance spreadsheets. In 5 months, he'd be forgotten for the next promotion. And in 5 years, he would be resentful, bitter, and wondering why he waited so long. That moment, everything shifted for Dan. But he did not rage quit. Instead, he redesigned. He took 3 months to really energize back. Instead of jumping ship blindly, Dan took the following 3 months to reconnect with what energized him. And for him, it was strategic problem solving and mentorship, which he had real passion for. We worked together to map out a list of his strengths and all transferable skills. Instead of Dan applying for any next finance job and rewriting his resume, he took time to really write the narrative for his future career. He just didn't need another resume rewrite. All he needed was his self-reintroduction. During that time, Dan created a portfolio of professional stories that clearly showed his leadership DNA and his strategic vision. 11 months later, Dan stepped into a strategic leadership role in a company that saw him, not just his credential. Same person, same values, different energy. When Dan got the offer letter, he called me and said something I'll never forget. Taz, you'll never believe every single day I'm waking up excited to go to work and make impact. Sometimes, like Dan, a career pivot isn't walking away. Instead, it's walking forward to the version of yourself you ignored for so long. Here's some practical tips. Update your career story, the narrative, not just your resume. If you are a mid career professional, reconnect with what energizes you, not only what pays you well. Build your career around your evolution, not just title. Coming back to my story, there was a specific time in my career I stayed in a role for way too long because I was afraid. I was afraid of disappointing others. I was afraid of being wrong. But the truth, the real risk wasn't that I was not living. The real risk was I was staying stuck in a story that no longer fit in. When I finally asked myself 555 question, I didn't get all the answers straight away. But one thing I did right was I started moving. Even that small action movement, looking back, might seem very tiny, but that really helped me in the end. Similarly, Ria didn't need a new job. She simply needed a new perspective. Dan didn't need to burn it all down. He simply needed to choose himself again. And maybe that's where you are right now too. Your career is not a failure. You're not behind. You're just in a crossroad. The 555 framework isn't here to give you all the answers. It is here to give you your truth back because the fact is, the longer you wait for certainty, the longer you delay your career moment. So pause, ask yourself those questions today, and most importantly, trust the answers you're receiving. And whatever the path you choose from here onwards, make sure it always leads back to you. So here's my question for you today. What is your 555 telling you right now? If you feel that quiet nudge, an inner pull, don't simply ignore, just explore it. If this video helped you, please give it a like, consider subscribing to the channel, and sharing with someone who's stuck in their career. Thank you so much for being here today. Thank you for showing up for yourself and being willing to ask those harder questions. Remember, it's okay to outgrow the stories that once we fit in. Be gentle with yourself today and trust your next chapter begins the moment you decide to make a change. I appreciate you, I believe in you, and I'll see you in the next one. Ciao.